Hi there, and welcome to this masterclass, The Universal Laws of Leadership, where we'll discuss some key strategies for being and becoming an exceptional leader in your field. As the title suggests, we'll be exploring some universal laws that apply to leadership, but which also come into play in every other part of our lives. For instance, the law of compensation, the law of order, the law of cause and effect, the law of polarity, and we've all heard of the law of attraction, of course. My name is Caddy, and you'll probably know me as Kath if you're a LinkedIn or supply chain work connection. I grew up in Holland. I've lived in England for many, many years now, and I have one son, Connor, who's 22 and living his dream of becoming an EasyJet pilot. He's literally in the air right now doing part of his training in Malaga, ready to start working as a commercial pilot in October this year. Now, Connor is a great example of holding steadfast to a dream and creating the circumstances to make it happen. One of those circumstances being the bank of mum, who's funding it. Definitely hashtag proud mama. And proof that when you understand how things really work, you can do, be, and have anything you want, no matter what your life or your circumstances are like right now. So today I'm going to touch these topics, not necessarily in the specific order, but we'll talk about all of them. Here they are. What are some scientific universal laws and how to apply them to leadership? One of those laws is the law of compensation. Also, we'll talk about what are some of the characteristics of an exceptional leader, and I'll share some strategies and how to become an even more effective leader. And also why it is important, first and foremost, to be able to lead yourself. Grab a pen and paper. There will be some exercises to do during the masterclass and afterwards. Super important to not just absorb more information, but to use it to create a transformation so that you can start making some shifts towards your bigger and better. Put any questions in the comments and I'll get to them as soon as I can. What we're going to do is build one step upon another in this masterclass. So stick with it till the end. You might as well, you're here anyway. And then look out for the spring offer and bonuses that we'll share at the end. First things first, some home truths for you. You are unique. There has never been anyone like you, and there never will be again. You have a unique gift to share with the world. Lead yourself to develop that. When you live on purpose, as in you do what you do on a day-to-day basis is fulfilling your bigger purpose, you feel good. When you're not living on purpose, you don't feel so good. Life is for you. It doesn't happen to you. Life is in favor of well-being. The universe is always expanding. Nature is always growing. So for us to feel good, we have to be expanding. We have to be growing. We have to be creating. We have to be working towards something bigger and better. This really is our innate nature as human beings. And as a leader, that's exactly what we do, isn't it? We develop ourselves and others, we create a vision, we expand our business, and we lead our teams to success. Now, your most important job is to feel good, to always reach for the better feeling thought. When you feel good, you give the best of yourself to everyone around you, and then everyone's winning. As I always say, put your own oxygen mask on first. There's a reason they tell you to do that on the plane, right? And same goes in life. When you put your own oxygen mask on first, when you make sure you recharge your batteries regularly, you are able to help others. Here's another home truth. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. We tend to believe that we'll only be successful once we've achieved our goal. But to achieve your goal, you've got to be successful on the way there. To eat a delicious meal, you have to have successfully put the ingredients together. To be fit and healthy, you have to have successfully done your exercise routine and eaten well. To get a promotion, you have to have successfully done your current job. And to get paid, you've got to successfully render services or goods. To be a successful leader, you have to successfully lead yourself. So that's kind of a law, isn't it? You have to be successful on your journey towards your goal to successfully reach your goal. Now, one law that we're all very familiar with is the law of gravity. We know it exists. We understand it. We know that because of it, we stay put on this earth. Even from when we're learning how to walk, we understand that if we fall over, we go down. When we throw a ball up in the air, we know it'll come back down. If you jumped off a building, you know you'd go splat. If I asked you to slide a cup off the table, you would know that it would fall down, spill the drink everywhere, and probably break, depending on the fragility of the cup, the height of the table, the density of the floor, and so on. We understand that, so we probably wouldn't slide the cup off the table, right? In fact, we take care not to slide it off the table, so we could keep it and avoid having to clean up a mess. And the same applies to all the other universal laws. When we don't understand them, we could end up with a mess on our hands. But when we do understand them, we can apply them to our advantage. Just like the law of gravity. We are able to fly planes, build buildings, ride bicycles, drive cars, do all sorts of things because we know the law of gravity exists and we know how to work with it to our advantage. So what is a law? Well, a law is something that applies to everything, every time, for everyone. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. Have you ever had a speeding ticket? I have had a few myself over the years. Maybe you were doing 50 in a 40 zone and you didn't know it was a 40 zone. You'd still get the speeding ticket. You still have to pay the fine. Have you ever had a parking ticket? Or maybe you got clamped, that's expensive. Same thing, just because you didn't realize you couldn't park there for free doesn't mean you don't have to pay the price. Just because you forgot to pay the meter doesn't mean you don't get the parking ticket. So life is governed by laws. Some of them we've heard of, some of them we even understand generally, but a lot of them we don't really know how to apply. So you've probably heard of the law of cause and effect, Emerson's law, the law of polarity in science class, the law of attraction, law of relativity, and so on. Lots of laws we've heard of, not many of those we truly understand, to the extent that we use them to our advantage in our daily life. So let's take a look at some of them, and we do only have about 45 minutes or so, and there's of course way more to it than what we can cover in that time, but here's a little taster. So I'm going to start with the law of compensation, because for you leaders and aspiring leaders, that is a key one. So the law of compensation decrees that your compensation is in direct relation to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. Now, the first point, the need for what you do, there is definitely a need for what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't think of doing it. I'll get to the second one, your ability to do it, in a moment. The third point, the more difficult it is to replace you, the higher your stock value is. Now, no one is irreplaceable. If you ran under a bus tomorrow, life would go on. And we've probably all been in situations where it wasn't even necessary to replace someone. No one is irreplaceable, but some people are very difficult to replace. So that brings us back to the second point, your ability to do what you do. When you are an expert in your field, when you are a pro at what you do, when you are on top of your game, it becomes more and more difficult to replace you. So really the only point we have to concern ourselves with within this law of compensation is the second one, your ability to do it. Become top-notch at what you're doing. Learn, develop, and apply. Provide the best goods, give the best service, be the best leader. If you want to be compensated better, that is what you need to do. Improve your goods, improve your service, become a better leader. Here's a bit of homework for you. Identify an area you can improve in, an area where you can become better, and take action towards improving within the next 24 hours. If you need to, get an accountability buddy. Accountability is your success insurance policy. Without it, most likely you'll procrastinate. And one of the biggest values, of course, of having a coach or a mentor is that accountability aspect. So let's talk about another important law, the law of order, which is called sometimes the first law of nature. Everything in nature is in order. Summer follows spring, day follows night. You have to plant a seed and nurture it before it becomes a flower. When our mind is in order, we feel good. Things flow. We are creative. We've all been there, haven't we? Firstly, it's super important to create order for yourself. I have a time and activity management course that can help you with that. And I'm so proud to say this, my book will be coming out soon in July, hopefully. So you must be in control of your activities within those 24 hours that we all get. You must be clear on where you're going. Have an exciting goal that sets your heart on fire. That means you're on purpose. And it scares you at the same time because at that moment in time when you set it, you don't know how to do it. When you have a clear goal, it gives you direction, and direction creates order for us. You would not get in your car without knowing where you're going because you could be driving around forever, right? So set a goal, gives you direction, and that direction is going to create order in your mind. So have a think about what your goal is. Write it down. What are you working towards? What direction are you creating for yourself? Now, as a leader, you must create order for your team too. And that starts with understanding the purpose of your business, which most likely will be to grow your business, to make life easier and better for people, and to create an environment where people can thrive. You have to have a vision of how that business is going to operate and a goal which stipulates what you need to do to get there. Now, a great leader is able to bring this to life for their team and get their people to come on the journey happily and harmoniously to achieve those goals. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to be clear. You have to have a clear picture of where you're going, which determines the direction you're going in. And I'm a great believer in transparency. People don't mind change, they just don't like being changed. And the reason people are hesitant or resistant to go on a new journey is mainly because they don't know what it means for them. They might think, will I be able to do what is expected of me in the new world? Will I still have a job? Will I still be able to add value and so on? Now, of course, leaders don't have to tell everyone everything, but they do need to take time in explaining their visions and goals and how each individual in their team fits into that. That's really the biggest issue with change management in any business is that the leaders don't get the people's mindset aligned with the vision early on. Everybody is an individual, and although change is not personal, it does, of course, affect people personally. A great leader takes time to understand and know their people. I always recommend that you spend at least 20 minutes a week with each of your direct reports to talk about wins, talk about any problems, issues they may have, and really start to understand what makes each person tick. So that's why you should really never have more than 4, maximum 6 direct reports. A big part of being an exceptional leader is the people and relationship element, and you must create the time to develop that. So here's another law. You could call it the law of laws. It's the law of cause and effect, which basically means that every action has a reaction. And this law governs so many things in our lives, probably nearly everything. And it applies to every aspect of our life. So if you want to discover more about that, feel free to reach out. But because this masterclass is about leadership, I'll focus on the law of cause and effect within that context today. We've probably all been around a group of people, maybe a team at work, where one person does way better than another. All the team members will have the similar skills, operate in the same business, same team, same market, same training, same manager, same everything, but one does way better than the other. Then being successful at what we do must be about more than just the circumstances we find ourselves in, right? Now, Wallace D. Wattle, I love that name, who wrote the book, The Science of Getting Rich, said in there, it's not about doing certain things, it's about doing things in a certain way. Certain as in for sure. And that certain way is by law, by applying the laws. Now, remember earlier I mentioned high performance and low performance. Well, of course, there are high performing leaders and low performing leaders as well. A big part of the reason that people get such different results is because of their self-image. What do they believe they're capable of? What do they believe is possible or not possible for them? You see, if you believe you can do something, you're right. And if you believe you can't, you are also right. And depending on what you believe, the actions you take or the actions you don't take will be very, very different. So this is where the law of cause and effect comes in. Every action has a reaction, aka a result. For you to achieve anything, you have got to believe that it is possible, because then you start taking action in alignment with your goal and you will make it happen. That's why the goal manifests, because you're taking aligned action. And this is also where mentorship comes in. Now, I was very lucky in my corporate career that my bosses believed in me even before I did. And when I first started working with my coach a few short years ago and told him what I really wanted, he believed in my ability to achieve it. He only saw me as the person with my goal already achieved and guided me to thinking in that way, to think in the same way that that person would be thinking. He got me to believe in myself and my goals, and I basically borrowed his belief in me. What he would do is he would drag me out of my comfort zone in a nice way. I wasn't kicking and screaming, and he'd get me to challenge my thought patterns and start telling myself a different story. A belief is just a thought we keep thinking, a story we keep telling ourselves. That's why we believe it. And it really didn't take very long before I started to believe that it was possible. Now, I went from suffering from severe depression and anxiety, coming out of a narcissistic relationship, finding out I had breast cancer, my ex owing me 90 grand, living in a rented house, driving an old car, to feeling good every day. That was the most important thing. But also being completely fit and healthy, buying and renovating my dream home, driving my dream car, and putting my son through commercial pilot training. Because once I started to believe it was possible, I started to take very, very different action. And those actions caused a different reaction and a different result in my life. Translating this to the business environment and leadership, you've got to get your people to believe in themselves so that they can become top performers. A great leader sees the best in their people and they draw it out of them. So can you start to think of ways to draw the best out of your people? How can you help them believe in themselves? How can you let them borrow your belief in them? And really importantly, how would you treat them if you believed in them? How would you guide them if you believed that they were top performers? So right now, start to see everyone in your team as successful. You will approach them slightly differently. That will give you a slightly different reaction. And that will start to shift results for you, for them, and of course for your business. Now, a lot of this comes down to the basic principle that we become what we think about for the majority of our time. Our thought patterns create our feelings and our beliefs. In my training, we call these paradigms. And another way to describe a paradigm is that we would say it's a multitude of habits. It's our programming, our conditioning. 95% of our habits and beliefs are unconscious. They're fixed in our subconscious mind. We have habitual ways of thinking, feeling, acting, reacting, doing, interacting, dealing with people, situations, habitual ways of making decisions, and so on. And we do most of this, 95% of this, without conscious thought. So that means that 95% of our life is controlled by our paradigms and self-image. 95% of the actions we are taking are unconscious, which means the reactions or results that we are getting are based on habitual ways. If you want to change your results, you've got to change your paradigms. And the only way to change your paradigms is by using your conscious mind to tell yourself a different story. Now, ask yourself, are you going to be the effect of your circumstances or are you going to be the cause of them? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that topic of circumstances and other leadership characteristics before we get into the law of polarity. I'd like to start with an exercise. And I do this with my coaching clients, way more expansive, of course, but this will be a good start for you. I want you to think of two people you believe are great leaders. So if you can write them down, or re-listen and then write them down later. And then for each of those two people, write down 3 or 4 characteristics that make them a good leader in your eyes. And once you've written those down, for each of those, score yourself. And you score yourself either as great, okay, or could improve. So those characteristics that you see makes as making someone a great leader, how do you score on those? How well are you versed in those characteristics? Now, from that list, pick 2 that would have the greatest impact on your development as a leader if you improve them. And then write down 3 actions for each of those characteristics. So you'll have about 6 actions. Score those actions 1 to 6, being 1 being the highest impact, and then take action within the next 24 hours towards it. Do it. Like I said before, get an accountability buddy if you need to. And once you've done the first action, move towards the next, and so on. And before you know it, your leadership skills will start to soar. So here's a bit of food for thought about what makes an exceptional leader. A great leader has a vision and knows where they're going. They're able to get their people to come happily and harmoniously along that journey. They create circumstances for their people to thrive. Now, most leaders want people to think well of them as a leader. An exceptional leader gets people to think well of themselves. A great leader looks for the circumstances conducive to achieving their goals. And if they can't find them, they create them. They do not let current outside circumstances hold them back. Here's an example. If I wanted to print off a poem I wrote for my friend on my computer and send it to her in the post. So I've written the poem, I'm going to print it off, and my ink ran out. So now I can't print. Current circumstances. I could say, well, I can't print it, so I can't send it. Or I can create the circumstance I need and go and buy the ink. Very, very simple example, but that's exactly how it works. No matter how big or small the problem with the current circumstances seems to be, you can create the circumstances that you need to achieve your goal. A bit more about how the law of relativity comes into play here and how we can use our mental faculties to create those circumstances. I wanted to touch on 11 leadership characteristics that Napoleon Hill wrote about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. The first one he mentions is unwavering courage. It takes courage to step outside the box, to come up with ideas that are beyond the status quo and then stick with them. Just think of the Wright brothers who believed it was possible to fly. Everyone thought they were crazy, right? But now look, because they chose to believe in their vision, we can all now fly around the world whenever we want to. The second one, self-control. A leader has to be in control of themselves and their emotions. People look to you as a leader to guide them. You must have calmness of mind, and you must be able to navigate calmly through crises and in a confident way. You have to have a keen sense of justice, authenticity, and honesty. Super, super important to be a great leader. Definiteness of decision. A leader makes decisions quickly and firmly and rarely, if ever, changes them. This is because they know themselves. They know the direction they're going in and they stick with it. Boils down to confidence as well, of course. The fifth point he raises is definiteness of plans. You've got to have a plan. You've got to take action. Remember the law of cause and effect. There cannot be a result without taking action. Now, your plan might change, but your goal doesn't. And it is super, super important that you take action from the right mindset, from a mindset of belief. Sixth one, the habit of doing more than being paid for. This is a great one, right? If you're not prepared to do more than what you get paid for, you'll never get paid for more than what you do, for more than you're doing. And this links back to the law of compensation, of course. A pleasing personality. As a leader, you've got to be approachable. Who wants to follow a nasty leader? Someone who leads through fear will never get the best out of their people. Sympathy and understanding. You've got to understand yourself and your people and know what makes both you and them tick to draw the best out of yourself and out of the team. Mastery of detail. A leader has to understand the detail. It doesn't mean that you have to know everything yourself, but you have to have people who know the detail. And I love this one, the 10th one, willingness to assume full responsibility. This is a biggie. In leadership space, there are 2 types of people. leaders and victims. And leaders take full responsibility because their goals are stronger than their excuses. This is why you have to, first and foremost, be able to lead yourself. And the last one, cooperation. We can't do it alone. We need people, other people, to help us achieve our goals, like we are helping other people to achieve our goals. Even when you're making a cup of tea or you're driving a car, we all need other people. We are all in service to each other. Interesting, isn't it? Which one of those do you think you could get better at? If you improved 1% every day, it means you improve nearly 400% in a year. Big, big opportunity, right? You must take responsibility for yourself and lead yourself to become an exceptional leader who achieves massive results for themselves, their people, and their business. More about leading yourself then when we covered another law, the law of polarity. Now, this law states that everything has an equal opposite. One cannot exist without the other. Nothing can exist without two sides. There's no left without a right. There's no up without down. You couldn't be inside the room if there was no outside to it. So this means that everything bad must have something good in it, and everything negative must have something positive in it. And of course, vice versa. Now, the key thing is that we have the ability to choose which side of the spectrum to focus on. Are we going to focus on the negative side, or are we going to focus on the positive side? And this law of polarity also means that there cannot be a problem without a solution. If there wasn't a solution, there would not be a problem. I always point this out to my clients. The obstacles we encounter are learning opportunities to become more of the person we need to be to live our goals. And in the solution, you will always find an opportunity you wouldn't have found otherwise. The law states equal opposite. The bigger the problem then, the bigger the solution, and the bigger the opportunity is going to be. We have complete freedom of choice in the thoughts and ideas that we entertain. It might not always feel like that, but we really do. This is what I train my clients in, to consciously and deliberately and consistently choose the thoughts that serve them and their goals, no matter what the current circumstances are. It's like training a physical muscle. The more you practice and train it, the stronger it becomes. And we can stay in control of our thoughts by using our 6 mental muscles. And in my training program, we spent 2 full weeks on this in my coaching, but here's the gist of it. So we have 5 sensory factors: see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. And we use these 5 sensory faculties to observe the world around us, to observe our current circumstances. What happens then is that most of us allow those circumstances, those current circumstances, to dictate our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. The problem is that when those circumstances are not what we want them to be, it's not how we want things to be, we let the outside world control us. We keep creating the same results. So how do you solve that one? Well, this is where those 6 mental faculties, 6 mental muscles come in. They live in our conscious mind, and we can use them to guide our mind to think thoughts that are aligned with what we do want. Remember, you become what you think about the majority of the time. These are the 6 mental faculties: imagination, reason, perception, will, memory, and intuition. In fact, when I first started as a coach, I'll tell you this story. I was talking to somebody and I was listing off these mental faculties. And I mentioned 5 of them and I couldn't remember the 6th one. I had to finish the call without thinking of what that 6th one could be. And then I remembered it was memory. I'm still laughing about that this day. Anyway, so let's pick 2 of them. The first one is imagination. Everything is created twice, first in somebody's mind as an idea and then in the tangible world. Everything we perceive with our 5 senses was first imagined. The clothes you're wearing, the car you're driving, the chair that you're sitting on, the pans that you cook with, internet, aeroplanes, etc., etc. We use our imagination all the time. Now, unfortunately, we tend to use it to imagine things that we don't want, rather than to imagine things that we do want. We tend to think about what could go wrong, rather than what could go right. So let's only entertain thoughts that align with our goals. You have a choice, right? Through your imagination, you are creating your future. So use your imagination wisely. And the second one I wanted to talk about was perception. I love this one. This is literally your point of view. Now, most of us argue for our limitations. We tell ourselves why something can't be done. Any leader implementing change will have come across this from some of their team members, right? So here's one of the books that I use. So I always ask people, what side of the book is that? And you will most likely say that for you, it is left, but for me, it is right. We're both right. For you, it's left. For me, it's right. And it literally depends on our point of view. And it's the same with everything. That's your perception. So let's use our perception to ask the question how we can. How can I do this? How can we do this? Rather than focus on why we can't. There's 150,000 reasons why we can't do things. But there's a good few reasons why we can't do things. So in my training, we use a great technique called 333. Don't waste any of your time thinking about why we can't. Use your perception to come up with ideas on how it can be done. And a law that can help with this is the law of relativity. Now, everything can be related to something, and depending on what we relate it to, it will determine its size, if you like, to us. So, for instance, we could have a big problem or a small problem. What do we relate it to? Another simple example, think of a cat. And now compare the cat with the mouse. The cat is big. Now compare the cat with an elephant. The cat is small. Same cat, same size, different comparison. When something seems too big, we can make it look small, break it down to the ridiculous, chop it into little pieces so that it feels like it can be done. And then plan each little step and take each little step one by one. When something feels too big, we tend to feel overwhelmed and we tend to feel stressed. And in that state, we cannot be creative or find solutions. And we also cannot be a very good leader when we're feeling overwhelmed and stressed. So it's super important as a leader to break down things for your people so that they don't feel overwhelmed and stressed, so that they can feel they can achieve it. Have a clear plan laid out so that they can also take that one step at a time. Last but not least, let's talk about leading yourself. You cannot be an exceptional leader if you're not able to lead yourself. You've got to be able to make decisions and stick with them. You've got to hold steadfast to your vision. You have to have discipline. Discipline means your ability to give yourself a command and follow it. You've got to take responsibility for your thoughts, for your feelings, your beliefs, your actions, your decisions, your results, and of course for the results of your team. A big part of being a great leader is the ability to be an intelligent follower. Who do you follow? Who do you take advice and mentorship from? I always tell my clients not to ask for advice or listen to anyone who is not living what they want to be living. You wouldn't ask your next door neighbor who's on handouts, benefits, how to be a millionaire, would you? Although they probably have a lot to say about it. You wouldn't ask a vagabond in the street for fashion advice, would you? And if your car broke down, you wouldn't take it to the dentist. No, you take it to, I take mine to Gary's Garage down the road, who loves cars and he knows exactly how to fix them. You've all probably heard this one. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. And you really are. You really are. So your next homework is checking out who are you spending most of your time with? Who are you asking for advice? Now go back to the exercise about who you believe is an exceptional leader. Who are they following? And follow them. Reach out to them and ask for their advice. An exceptional leader is always happy to help other people. And then get a coach or a mentor to help guide you and to then hold you accountable. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead others. Not at work and not at home. And we cover a lot of leadership in my coaching programs, so I'm always happy to have a chat if you'd like to find out more about that. Don't let anyone steal your dreams. So before we finish, here's a quick recap on what we've covered today. You are unique. You have complete freedom of choice in what thoughts and ideas you entertain or not. The law of cause and effect. Every action has a reaction. Every action creates a result. Beliefs control actions. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. Help your people believe in themselves so they can improve their results. And of course, get help to believe in you so you can achieve whatever it is you want to. We talked about the law of polarity. Everything has an equal opposite. There's no problem without a solution, and the solution will unveil an opportunity that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So now we can start to welcome problems and obstacles, right? We covered the law of relativity. When things feel overwhelming, when you feel stressed, break them down to the ridiculous for yourself and for your team. Get my time and activity management course to create order and then free up time. In fact, we'll send you the link later for that. We talked about the law of order, the first law of nature. Setting a goal creates order and gives direction. When your mind is in order, when we know where we're going, we become crystal clear on what needs to be done. We covered quite a few key characteristics of an exceptional leader. For instance, creating the circumstances you and your people need to thrive. Really dive into those characteristics and develop the ones that would have the most impact on you becoming an exceptional, more effective leader. You got to lead yourself. You got to take responsibility. You got to be disciplined and only ask the experts for advice. And we started off with the law of compensation, didn't we? Become an expert in your field and you'll become very, very difficult to replace. Your stock value goes up, your compensation goes up. Now, it's really, really important to do the exercises and the homework because it's the application of the information that we've given you that will make the difference for you. I can't believe we're nearly done. So we've covered just a few of the laws here. There are actually 7 primary universal laws and a number of secondary laws. I cover all of these. So again, if you want to find out more about them and how to apply them, you know where to find me. Because when you understand them and you learn how to apply them, you can do, be, and have anything that you want, whatever it is. Because if you can think it, you can achieve it. You already have everything you need inside of you. Because otherwise that idea would not have come up for you. But you have to have a clear picture of your desire. You have to become that person that's already living your goal, which starts with cultivating your belief and aligning your actions with those beliefs. And that is what will move you into the direction of your goals every day. I wanted to give you some homework just for you to lead yourself to success. Make a list of all the things that you want personally and professionally. Make it a shopping list. Don't think about how that's going to happen at all, how you might make it happen at all. You're not going to know how at this stage because it's new, right? Just think about the what. And have fun with it. It could be a big, big list, right? My mentor, Bob Proctor, always used to say, be silly, give yourself permission to fantasize for a little while. And then pick the 2 that you want most and move into action immediately towards it. And if you find that you're arguing with your limitations, which is very likely because you've got to do this or that first, you're busy, or you'll do it tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And all the reasons you've given yourself before for not going for what you want. Come talk to me because those reasons are really not true. It's your current beliefs and conditioning that is holding you back. That's nearly it. Now, of course, another key characteristic of a successful leader is that they are always looking to develop and improve themselves. Anyone who is at the top of their game has a mentor or a coach, sometimes even more than one. Just think of athletes and artists and exceptional leaders. You cannot be your very best on your own. We all have blind spots. We all have paradigms that are holding us back. We all have beliefs and habits that don't serve us. We all have responsibilities, and using that as a reason not to pursue our dreams and express our uniqueness. We all argue for our limitations, but you are not doing yourself, your loved ones, or the world any good with that. You're doing them, in fact, a disservice if you're not living your best life. We all need a cheerleader. We all need someone to get us to see past our current self-imposed limitations, and they really are self-imposed limitations. We all need someone to believe in us when we don't quite yet believe in ourselves. My life, I tell you, changed beyond recognition when I invested in a coach. My clients' lives have changed beyond recognitions since they worked with me. And I would love to help you lead yourself to your dreams and your desires. I would love to teach you the techniques that my clients and more than 40,000 people around the world are using to really elevate their lives. And all it takes is a decision from you and for you to step out and make your life happen on your terms. You can book a free discovery call with me. No obligation, just a chat to see if we click. And I actually only work with people who are truly committed to improving their life. My clients have a 100% success rate, and I would really like to keep it that way. Now, if we decide we're a good fit and you sign up to my coaching, this is what you'll get. Weekly online personal coaching with me for 6 months, 12 modules of online study material, Access for Life, the Time and Activity Management Introductory course, and a 10% discount if you recommend a friend or family member or colleague who enrolls as well. So normally the investment would be £8,000, but it's on offer for £6,500 if you book your discovery call within the next 14 days. So I've got a question for you. Can you afford not to do this? What will it cost you if you don't step out right now? How would you, your loved ones, and your team benefit if you decided to do this with me? If you stepped out and embarked on this really life-changing journey? Can you see how good that would be for you and everyone else in your life? I want to thank you for being here. I have thoroughly enjoyed this masterclass. Reach out for your discovery call, do the exercises, make that shopping list of your wants, and join the people who are living life on their terms, without stress, doing what they love, and feeling good every day. I will see you.